you on Zillow and you saw this crazy deal on land and you're like, oh my gosh, that's it. I am going to buy a piece of land and build my own house. Easy, right? Not so fast. It is very, very tricky. There is a lot of red tape. There is a lot of paperwork. There are a lot of reports, inspections, and geological reports and digging, and oh my gosh, it is crazy. Hi, I'm Michele Replogle with Compass, and I wanted to give you some of the pitfalls, roadblocks to buying a piece of land and then trying to build on it and why it can be so difficult. So I'll give a few of the roadblocks and then I'll tell you a few stories. So stay to the end, like, subscribe, and share too, please. So you've probably thought about it, I'm sure, buying a piece of land and building your own home. I mean, that goes back into the American soul for the last couple hundred years, right? Where we wanted to get a plot of land and build our own house to our liking, to how we want to live. And it really is a noble idea. It's just, there's just a lot of speed bumps to keep that idea from coming to fruition. I'll give you some examples. So in the San Lorenzo Valley to the north of Santa Cruz County, when we're looking at land, I have buyers looking at land, we find all kinds of issues, and sometimes it's before you even get up to the property. It could be it's fenced, it's gated, and it's hard to get permission from the person who owns the land for you to drive across to even go look at it. It's problematic where that owner of that property that you have to drive across, yeah, they're really not interested in anybody buying that land up there. They don't want to buy it, but it may not be easy to get across their property to go look at that land. Then there's the really, really steep roads. I mean, these are mountains. So you look at this property online, which is a flat. It's not in 3D. I mean, there's 3D. You can see them if you want, but that first photo, the one that gets you to go look at it because it's such a great price, you'll see this flat stretch of land, lots of trees, and you'll think, oh, this is it, right? It's 45,000 or something. Come to find out, it's almost completely landlocked. You can only get in through one little sketchy road that's just straight up, not paved, barely has good rock in it for you to even take a four-wheel drive up. But then you find out too that it's not buildable. And a lot of times the land listings don't say that they're not buildable, meaning you can't put a house on it. There's no way the county's going to let you do it. It's in the small print or it's in the agent comments from agent to agent. So why are they selling that piece of land? Well, when that whole area got carved out, a lot of people bought all these pieces around there, right? Because they have their houses on there. And this one little piece just kind of got overlooked when it was just carved up to be sold. Could have been by the state or the county, but they didn't want anybody building on it. It's in the middle of everything of all these other homes, and it's steep, or it's just, it's just unbuildable. Now, for each parcel, you would have to talk to the county about why they consider it unbuildable. But a lot of times it's too small. It's not accessible to fire trucks. They couldn't help you, or it's steep, or it's not graded. I mean, there's a ton of reasons. And I have people call me and say, hey, I want to list this piece of land. And I say, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I don't really do that so much. But they think that they've hit the big time, right? They're not from this area. A lot of times they're from back east where they got sold this piece of property because, California land is all just gold rush. And then they find out really all it is when that property was sold is a income tax or a tax generation event for the county because they collect property taxes on there. It's not buildable. So some of the roadblocks you can expect are protections for beetles, salamanders, eco-sensitive areas for wildflowers that are deemed almost near extinct. Then there's getting the utilities to the property. A lot of times it's very hard to get power to it. A lot of areas up in the San Lorenzo Valley do not have public gas. You have to have propane. Okay. But then here comes the big expense and the really hard part of a lot of parcels up in the San Luis Valley is septic. Septic's a big issue. It's really, really, really hard to do if there is no septic, to just create a septic system there. It's very expensive. And then with the San Lorenzo Valley, each little area, I mean, as you go up Highway 9 through this area, each geological makeup of that area changes. So here it was okay to put a septic. Here, no, it's not, because of the geological makeup. That's just, I mean, really, that's just the icing on some of the issues with trying to do anything up there in the San Lorenzo Valley. And then there's down in Aptos, where you run into the Coastal Commission. Now, the Coastal Commission restrictions run about a mile from the coastline all the way along our coastline. I think it's a mile. I want to say it's gotten shortened down to 4 blocks, but I'm not so sure about that. But I know when you're living on the coast, you live under Coastal Commission restrictions to do big building, big heavy remodeling, or putting a new house in. And then down in Aptos, or actually La Selva Beach, they actually have septic protections that are layered with the Coastal Commission, and there is a lot of reasons for that. The video would be really long if I explained all that, but you can always ask me and I will tell you why it's even crazy down there. From north to south, totally different areas in terms of the geological makeup, right? Because you're having mountains and you have ocean. They run into some of the same problems in terms of septic and geological formations underneath, you know, that cause either putting a septic in hard or easy. But the other thing is we have aquifers down there and in Aptos, and the septics can actually pollute those. And I'll get into those if you want. You can ask me about those. But utilities are a big deal. So now further South County, Santa Cruz County, so you've left where you probably can get a promise of water on a new piece of land. You could get water promised to you for your water system for you, right? And then for you need water nearby, so the fire can be put out. So those are things that the municipalities, boy, I'm really having trouble speaking. I hope you don't have trouble listening. The municipalities have to think about how they're actually going to provide services to the property. That is huge. And on a bare piece of land, it's really expensive to get all these water, power, septic, sewer involved. That part on a bare piece of land is where it actually gets very expensive. And then in South County, they are having trouble promising water to new build because they are low on water. Now let's get into the third one, the cost, the expense. It is massive. Even if you got like a really good deal on a piece of land, maybe a neighbor sold it to you and you thought, oh, I'm going to build on there. And you're thinking, I'm getting a good deal. I mean, they literally almost just gave it to you, right? Hit the lottery. But all the people you will need to work with to build a house, say up in the mountains, we'll start there. You will need geological reports. You'll need a land use planner. You need a contractor. Then you know, on top of all that, you'll need an architect. There are people, the land use planner is number one, where they can tell you exactly what you can do with the property, how the county is going to look at your ideas and plans. Now in the city, I had a client looking at a parcel where it was a bare piece of land. It was in the city, so we knew that the utilities, the access to the utilities were right there. So that's an easier part than in areas that are way underdeveloped. But at the same time, the cost of actually building and getting all the people together to help you put this house on there and make it fully functional, super expensive. And then the permitting process, it kind of, as it goes along, you pay increments as you go along with your contractor, with the city and or the county. And it's just really expensive. So the lot that they were looking at here on the west side that kind of had everything going for it, it was at $800,000. It went for $885,000. So what you learned from this is that really the price, because I started at $45,000 and I ended at $885,000, looking at the price will actually tell you really quickly what you can do with that property. I mean, that's really the takeaway from this video. If you waited all through the video to hear the biggest takeaway, look at the price of the land and that will tell you what you can do with it. Now, the lot on the west side, they didn't buy it. They didn't buy it because of all the unknowns. They really would have liked to have had more time to talk with the city. But the buyer of that, the seller of that, well, and the buyer, they wanted an as-is buyer. I think they got like 10 offers or something on that for 800,000, went for 885. That buyer bought it with a 7-day escrow, and they didn't talk to the city, or maybe they knew what could go on that lot already. And so just the unknown of buying land and all the things that you may be expected to do and the hoops that you might need to go through in the city at 800,000, that's a big chunk to think about. And I mean, between all the protections, you're still under that particular piece of property. You would have been under the Coastal Commission, and you would have also had to see about getting the utilities. I think you get a promise of water, but actually pulling them are very expensive. And then with all the permits, so those 3 roadblocks, or speed bumps as they were, made that really prohibitive to even just a prospective buyer. And then mostly people who are selling land, they want cash because lenders don't like to lend on land without you having a full construction plan. And even then, you got to pay it back really quickly. So that's land. No shortcuts here. But if you have any other questions about land or comments, or you want to tell me your experience, love to hear it. Please comment below.